I'm Luke Summerhaze, and I love Arceus. The English word God is a little messy. We use this same word for the specific God of the Abrahamic religions, as well as for the more philosophical, theoretical idea of a divine creator. We also use it for the extremely anthropomorphic gods of, say, the Greek and Norse religions, with their very soap opera-like stories. And we use the word God to translate the Japanese word kami, which are spirits which inhabit anything and everything. Regardless of the specific story, or the exact name, the idea of a creator, a force which made the universe, and perhaps in some way still guides it, is extremely prevalent throughout almost every culture. As we look at the world and try to understand it, perhaps there's something inherent to humans that lets them assume someone must have done this. Or perhaps we can just feel some energy force that binds all living things together. In the Pokemon world, the 4th generation has introduced us to a whole pantheon of legendaries, who are kind of like deities. This culminates in Arceus. Arceus is a white Pokemon on dainty feet, somewhat like a deer. Deer are the messengers of the gods in Japanese mythology, and there is a resemblance to a Kirin, one of the highest magical creatures in Japanese and Chinese folklore. Arceus' face is somewhat abstract, and its white fur trails behind it, giving it a cloud-like appearance. Around its midsection is a gold structure that resembles a halo. Pokemon Pearl tells us, "It is told in mythology that this Pokemon was born before the universe even existed." In the earlier games, Arceus could only be obtained through special events and distributions, all of which were quite rare, even as mythical Pokemon distributions go. More recently, Arceus had a much larger role in-game, in Pokemon Legends Arceus, in which it speaks to you at the start of the adventure, and can even be met and caught at the end. Pokemon Platinum tells us, "It is said to have emerged from an egg, in a place where there was nothing, then shaped the world." The idea of an egg which predates everything, and which hatched and released the primordial being, exists in a number of cultures, but perhaps most prominently in an ancient Chinese creation myth, with the giant Pengu emerging from the egg, which also extended into some Japanese folklore. Pokemon Diamond tells us, "It is described in mythology as the Pokemon which shaped the universe with its 1,000 arms." The depiction of a godlike being having 1,000 arms is a common metaphor in Buddhist artwork and teachings, as well as some Hindu depictions of gods. In Kyoto is a famous temple with 1,000 Buddha statues, many of which have many arms themselves. Some depictions have this godlike figure riding a beast or having multiple legs themselves, making them resemble Arceus even more. Pokemon Legends itself tells us, "It is the heavenly fount from which pours the light that shines across Hisui. Its luminance guides and protects all Pokemon. Hisuian mythology states that Arceus is the creator of all things." Welcome back to the final edition of Does Andy Remember Gen 4 Pokemon?
I was going to say, because it's Gen 4. Yeah, we ran out of Gen 4 Pokemon, not because you're booting me off.
Yeah,
just not being entertaining enough.
We might do the same thing for Gen 5, who knows?
Well, I mean, it's up to you, really.
Yep.
You're going to say, let's do it, and then I'll go, yes. Because, frankly, there's no real reason I wouldn't. It's quite easy to do this. And if so, does he have any thoughts about
Arceus!
Yeah, I've heard of this one. From the video game Pokemon Legends Arceus. That's about it, really, isn't it? It's just a big god.
Yep.
And I imagine you probably don't like that very much. I imagine you've got a big problem with gods.
I've got problems with organised religion.
Yeah, well. Wait, so you're saying Arceus is alright because his religion is not organised?
Arceus
I just imagine if you saw a god, you'd want to punch it.
Arceus created a pretty decent world, whereas the god who created our world, yeah, I'd give him a battering.
Imagine the Pokemon world's so good.
It's nice, isn't it? Pokemon.
It might just be the tourist board, just like making it look cleaner and good.
They've done a blooming good job.
That's it. Oh, they're well paid. They're highly efficient professionals.
No, I've actually...
I mean, to be fair, you say that. There's a lot of supervillains in that world.
Yeah, but they always get their comeuppance, don't they?
Do they always?
Yeah, if you're good at the game, mate.
I guess it depends what their comeuppance is. Is that a lasting piece? Does
Till the
society
next
change for the better? Exactly, that's what I'm saying. They keep popping up. It's not winning.
Anyway, why do you think I'm so opposed to gods?
I just imagine you want to punch it.
Well, yeah, that doesn't mean I'm opposed to it. Punched a lot of my friends.
Just, gods are a bit too authoritarian, I think, for you.
Yeah, well, that's it. I don't like the sort of Abrahamic gods.
Yeah, maybe I'm just assuming that Arceus is...
No, see, I think
than he is.
it's more of a Shinto thing, I think.
I felt quite, taken out of where I would belong in Pokemon Arceus. I didn't necessarily want to be back in the past,
Do you think I have a problem with being sent back to feudal Japan?
No, obviously you would love that, but I mean, I just feel that everyone was sent back regardless of their will of where they wanted to be.
You chose to play the game, innit?
Also, the difference is you just said that the Pokemon world's so great. So if that guy was originally in the Pokemon world, having a great time, do you really want to go back to a time where you had less shit?
Maybe.
You couldn't make podcasts back then.
But it's going back to a time where you're the only person who's good at catching Pokemon, so you get to feel like a real champ.
No, but it's fake. You'd have an existential crisis if that happened.
I have one every day anyway. As a mythical Pokemon, Arceus' role in the games was limited early on. Its anime appearances, on the other hand, helped to depict its godlike power. It starred in the movie Arceus and the Jewel of Life, a time travel epic, and had more time travel universe-bending escapades in the Pokemon Journeys anime. Arceus, naturally, is outrageously powerful, with great stats across the board, an enormous move pool, and an ability which lets it change type based on its held items. It has never been, and probably will never be, legal in official competition, but it has an interesting history in fan competition. The name Arceus comes from the words like arcane, for ancient, and deus, meaning god, perhaps with the ancient Greek for origin in there, and so on. For a long time, most people pronounced it Arceus, which was especially funny in the UK, where arse is a slightly rude word for the butt. The 7th generation Pokemon Type Null and Silvally, kind of clones or copies of Arceus, clear things up with an ability called RKS, clearly designed to resemble the pronunciation Arceus. A few years ago, I wrote a feature for the hilarious and dearly missed podcast BitSocket. One of the questions hinged on the old pronunciation, and the boys did not disappoint.
Which of the following is the real name of the Pokemon incarnation of God? Rectius, Arceus, Bummius, Bootius, or Badonkadonkius?
Wait, what do you mean? There's no Pokemon of God, is there?
Joe.
In the game? Rectius.
Rectum. It was Arceus.
Arceus, oh, okay.
So there we go.
Yeah. I don't remember what that means though, like, what?
Well, I'm assuming it'd be like, you know how...
Is that a Pokemon that looks like God?
You're aware that our Lord Jesus Christ is like the physical manifestation of God?
Right.
I'm imagining this is the Pokemon version of Jesus.
But in the game, is it actually...
Joseph! I know the answer to that
But
question.
I mean,
do you want me to Google it?
Surely we would have heard more about this. Like,
why?
Because some right-wing nutjob in America would go, we can't let kids play this game, it's got a pastiche of God as a Pokemon in it.
But maybe it's a different version of God. I don't think it's... I don't know what version of God they have in Pokemon, Joe. I've not played it. I've not played enough Pokemon games.
I've got questions, is what I'm saying. Right.
Well, there's your computer.
Right.
The end of Pokemon Legend goes some way to clearing up Scott and Joe's confusion. After winning a boss battle with Arceus, he says he will send a part of himself with the player. The Arceus I keep in a Pokeball is not the entirety of God, but a piece or an avatar. Still, it is a bit weird having a Pokemon God, isn't it? Did it just make Sinnoh and the Legendaries, or the whole world and all the Pokemon? Should it be compared to a particularly powerful Kami, to an ascended being, or to a literal Abrahamic god? I guess that's open to one's own interpretation, which is perhaps as it should be. And that's the end of the 4th generation. There are some bonkers ones in there, I know, but we made it through. After this, the podcast will be moving on to Generation 5, the largest generation and one of the most unique. I may take a week or two to figure out the details, but episodes will still be going out on Sundays to talk about the Paldean monsters. In the meantime, thank you so much for listening. Music for Luke Loves Pokemon is composed by Jonathan Cromie. Artwork for the show is by Katie Groves. Arceus was designed by Takao Uno. Writing, producing and editing is all by me, Luke Summerhays. Funding is provided by lovely listeners. If you'd like to help keep the lights on or give your thanks, head over to patreon.com/podcastiopodcastius. There you can find links to the other shows my pals and I create. Or for just $1 a month, listen to episodes as soon as we're done editing. I love Arceus, and remember, I love you too.